John, last week, Cohen told Congress that Trump ordered him to threaten his high school to never release his grades. What could he possibly be hiding? We all assume he failed everything. Did they invent an easy class for him or something? Okay, Donald, welcome back to our special science course, Rock or Not a Rock. To recap our syllabus so far, I am not a rock.
For years, Trump has been bragging about his outstanding grades during college studies at Wharton and the fact that he was one of the top students. In particular, Trump claims that he was smarter and more intelligent than all other peers. He always mentions Wharton as the best educational institution, where future successful businessmen are educated. For years, this statement has become one of the most characteristic features of Trump.
Hey, I went to the Wharton School of Finance. I was a really good student.
I went to an Ivy League college. I was a nice student. I did very well. I'm a very intelligent person.
Everybody knows what a great school it is. Look, if I were a liberal Democrat, people would say I'm the super genius of all time.
Which has created a mythological image of the billionaire, a natural genius, smart and talented businessman, and top student whom professors immediately recognized as exceptional. Nevertheless, the truth regarding Trump's education at Wharton may be quite contrary. Among professors of the college were William T. Kelly, who had lectured on marketing and business strategy at Wharton School for 31 years, from 1951 till 1982. It was Kelly who became one of thousands of students who had attended the classes. However, as Frank DiPrima, a good friend of William T. Kelly, claims, there was one specific student whom the professor always recalled.
No, there wouldn't. Donald Trump, in his typically modest fashion, bragging in no shortage of degree about how smart he is and also his educational bona fides. But the Washington Post, they did a deep dive into his academic career, and it is not nearly as impressive as Trump would make it sound. The Post, they spoke to an admissions officer who was there at the time named James Nolan. He says the acceptance rate in 1966 was at 50%, and it was even higher for transfers like Donald Trump, who went to Fordham first. Nolan also told the Post he was not impressed with Trump's intellect. Quote,
in fact, DiPrima says that for approximately 30 years, from the 1970s until Professor Williams' death in 2011, he constantly used the same phrase each time when talking about Trump. According to the professor, Trump was the dumbest goddamn student that he had ever taught in the college. As can be seen, Kelly not only did not like Trump, but he was quite sure that the latter was one of the worst students. This statement is remarkable not just for what it says, but also because of the time frame when it was made. The professor reportedly mentioned Trump as his dumbest student for 30 years. Such a time frame shows how long Kelly had considered Trump to be a stupid student, which can be explained by the fact that the professor was a very experienced educator and evaluator. Moreover, the professor claims that Trump did not want to learn anything at Wharton. Kelly insists that the main flaw of Trump was excessive pride and lack of humility. Thus, he entered each lesson believing that he knew everything better than all the others, and therefore tried not to listen to teachers, memorizing information required for exams, but not knowing how to use it when encountering new cases of application.
I certainly was not struck by any sense that I'm sitting before a genius, certainly not a super genius. Nolan also said, quote, it was not very difficult to get into Wharton at that time. The article also points out that Trump was not one of the top honorees at graduation, and he wasn't even on the dean's list. Plus, Trump is, of course, refusing to release his transcripts. This classic Trump won't show his transcript, but
when he faced any criticism, Trump bluffed, did not admit errors, and often dominated the discussion. In this case, the peculiarity lies in the fact that professors usually remember those students who were bad and unsuccessful in their studies, mainly because of their lack of preparedness. Kelly remembered Trump specifically because he belonged to another category, those who refused to learn because of excessive confidence. However, the case was proved by journalists who began investigating the real facts related to Trump's grades in college. Apparently, it turns out that Trump was not included into the dean's list in 1968. Moreover, the name of Trump was not included in the list of graduates with distinctions, as it is not indicated in the graduation ceremony program. That is, there were no indications that Trump graduated cum laude, magna cum laude, or summa cum laude. This fact clearly indicates that the student did not receive many distinctions in his studies, although he claims otherwise. At the same time, the information does not contradict the fact that he studied well and received high grades. However, the comparison between the mythological image of Trump's academic success and the reality is evident. On the one hand, Trump has been repeating over the years about his outstanding academic performance and grades during Wharton studies. On the other hand, there is evidence that proves the fact that Trump had not many distinctions for his academic achievements at that university. Therefore, it becomes apparent that the myth about Trump's outstanding success during his study period is not supported by any facts. What gives credibility to Kelly's statement is the fact that he made these comments long before Trump entered the field of politics. According to D. Prima, Professor Kelly began criticizing Trump in the 1970s, when the future president's name had not been widely known yet. At that time, Trump was not associated with politics but with construction. However, the criticism has lasted for the next decades when there was no political context to evaluate this assessment.